welcome to this event, grad school applications in the US, organized by the IEEE Robotics and Automation Society, ZHCT. I'm Yusuf Ahmed Khan, currently serving as the president of this society and also the moderator for today's event. I would like to welcome our esteemed guests today, who are also the former members of the IEEE Robotics and Automation Society. So, firstly, Zahid Hussain, who is currently pursuing masters in computer engineering from Texas A&M. He was also the former president of the IEEE Robotics and Automation Society. Secondly, we have Asmer Hamid Ali, who is currently a PhD student in the ECE department at Johns Hopkins University. I would like to welcome both of our guests today, and I hope that it will be a very informative session today. And we, including myself, look forward to learn a lot from today's event. So I would now like to request Zaid Bhai to kindly start with the presentation, and I request everyone to uh, attend the session. Thank you.
Hello, I think I'm audible, right?
Yes.
Okay, so thank you, Yusuf, for organizing this event. So, ladies and gentlemen, and fellow students, this is Zahid Hussain giving a short talk on the topic of how to choose the right grad school in the USA. So, first, a little bit about me. So, I'm a proud graduate of Zahid Hussain College of Engineering Technology, having completed my BTech in Electronics Engineering in the summer of 2023. It's an honor to share a glimpse of my journey with you all. Currently, I am pursuing a fully funded master's degree in computer engineering, thesis based at the renowned Texas A&M University. This is an exciting opportunity and has allowed me to delve deeper into my passion for technology. During my undergraduate years, I had the privilege of interning at Columbia University in the bustling city of New York. In my third year, it was on machine learning. I also had the privilege of serving as a president of IEEE Robotics and Automation Society, student branch AMU during the academic year 2022-2023. So firstly, since I'm here to talk about Texas A&M University mostly, so I guess I have to advertise it a little, right? So one of the most compelling reasons why I chose TAMU is its strong ties to world-class research labs. I chose Texas A&M University because of its unparalleled research opportunities and its pivotal role in global security and space exploration too. TAMU's affiliation with Triad National Security LLC and its 2.5 billion annual contract to operate Los Alamos National Laboratory. If you guys would have seen Oppenheimer, then you would know what this is. Highlights its impact on nuclear security worldwide. Additionally, TAMU's triple designation as land grant, sea grant, and space grant institution makes it ideal for anyone wanting to explore land, sea, or space exploration and research. Now, these are the major factors which I'm going to talk about in depth. So let's start with the first one, which is selecting uh, research or field of study. So selecting the right field of study for a graduate program is a decision that can significantly shape your future. Begin by identifying your passion and long-term career goals. Conduct extensive research into various fields and subfields within a discipline. Look for universities that offer specialized programs and faculty expertise in your area of interest. Consider the current trends and job prospects in a chosen field. So Asmar will go into the in-depth of these things. I'm covering the basics and generalized things. So yeah, so attend conferences, webinars, and workshops to gain deeper insights. Ultimately, your academic journey should be a path that aligns with your passions and career ambitions. So invest ample time in this particular thing. Secondly, university rankings. So overall rankings can offer valuable insights into a school's reputation and overall academic quality. However, it's also important to note that look beyond overall rankings and explore subject-specific rankings too. Some universities may excel in certain fields while not being as highly ranked overall. Consider the university's research output, faculty qualifications, and industry partnerships. Additionally, seek input from current students and alumni to gauge their experience and their impact of the university on their careers. So one of the websites which you can see is csrankings.org. It's specifically for computer science students. So you can go into that and select and see universities which are ranked based on the particular department which you're trying to look into, machine learning, cybersecurity, etc., etc. It's an excellent website. I will put the link in the Meet chat after this presentation. The next is financial considerations. One of the major considerations for me for choosing A&M. So navigating the financial aspect of studying in the US is very crucial. Start by creating a comprehensive budget that includes tuition fees, accommodation costs, textbooks, health insurance, and personal expense. Explore various financial resources, including scholarships, grants, fellowships, assistantships. Research both university specific and external funding opportunities. Don't overlook part time work or on campus jobs. So just giving an example, my monthly rent is about 500 US dollars, an additional $100 for utilities, and about 400 to 500 on food and groceries. So this brings the monthly expense to about $1,000, which is about 82,000 Indian rupees per month. Additionally, for one semester in A&M University, it's about 14,000 US dollars. So you guys can gauge how much monthly you have to spend to study in the USA. Next is networking alumni. Connect with prospective alumni students. Before applying to the university, reach out to prospective alumni and current students through social media platforms or university forums. Engage in conversations, ask questions about their experience, seek advice on application process, etc. The next is online engagement. Continue to leverage professional networking platforms like LinkedIn to connect with alumni and industry peers. Initiate informational interviews, join relevant groups, and stay updated on industry trends. Of the features is consider locations. So the location of a chosen graduate school can profoundly impact your overall experience. Think about the climate and weather conditions as they can affect your daily life and activities. Consider the cost of living, which I already told. Urban centers may have higher cost of living, like New York, but offer more job opportunities and cultural experiences. Smaller towns may be more affordable, but might have limited job prospects. Also, think about your proximity to potential employers and industries related to your field. So, for example, if you choose to study in the Texas, which I'm currently in, so Texas has a summer overall hot climate, just like in Aligarh. So, if you like hot summers like me, then Texas is the best option for you. Next is the admission requirements. So, understanding and meeting admission requirements is essential to secure a spot in your desired graduate program. Review university's prerequisites, which may include academic qualifications, standardized test scores such as GRE, GMAT, TOEFL, IELTS, letters of recommendation, and statement of purpose. Take time to craft a comparing statement of purpose as it is very important. It highlights your academic and professional journey, research interests, and how the program aligns with your goals. Secure a strong LOR letter of recommendation from professors or professionals who can speak to your qualifications. This is about visa process. This is not as important, so you guys can also ask us later in the journey how to apply to visa, but we will just I will just go through it. So navigating the US student visa process can be intricate and requires careful planning. Start by understanding the specific visa category you will need, such as the F1 visa for a full-time student. Prepare all necessary documents, including financial statements, proof of ties to India, and visa application forms, for example, DS 160. Pay close attention to visa interview requirements and etiquette. So, in this, I will share a rough timeline of applying to US grad schools and share my personal experience along with it. If you are applying for fall, which is a September session for a grad school, then you need to start early by June, July of previous year. Start by researching about universities based on a variety of factors as discussed above. I mailed my professor in the month of August. For research-focused master's program, initiate contact with potential thesis advisors by sending emails. Be done with GRE and other admissions by the end of October or November first week, as you need to start applying in the month of November. The deadline for most grad schools in the US is approximately middle of December, so December 15, December 20. So be done with all the necessary exams by October end. So I mailed my professor at the month of August. He wanted to have an interview with me to better gauge my research skills. He wanted to know about my past research work, as I had 3 research papers at that time. He wanted to know about my current ongoing research and asked some technical machine learning questions related to it. He was well satisfied with the interview, and he was willing to take me on as a thesis-based master student under him. Keep in mind that getting selected as a thesis-based master student under a professor doesn't guarantee funding. So after this, we collaborated on a research. I wrote a proposal for deep learning and underwater robotics, which got funded about 30,000 US dollars, which is about 24 lakh Indian rupees. At this point of time, he was well satisfied with my abilities as a researcher and was willing to take me on as a graduate assistant researcher under him. So a GAR position has some perks like full tuition fee waiver and a monthly stipend. So the reason for proving your research skills to the professor is that the professor has to fund you through one of his other funded projects going on in his lab. So on an average, in A&M, a professor has to spend about 50,000 US dollars per semester on a single graduate student. So that's why it's so important to prove your research skills to him, as no one would just invest 50,000 US dollars on a person without knowing him. So one of the reasons that students don't get funding right away in the first year is that a teacher has to get to know you about your skills and um, about your research abilities. That after that he is willing to fund you. So that's why it takes almost 1 year to express your research skills to a professor, do good in studies in that particular field which the professor is teaching, and then he is willing to fund you later. So yeah. So thanks for listening. If you do have any questions, then we will take questions after Asmer has also spoken. So thank you.
So thank you, Zaid bhai, for the informative session. Now, I would like to request Asmer bhai to please continue. And now I would also like to say that we'll have the question answer session towards the end.
Hello, is my screen visible?
Yes, bhai, screen is it.
Okay, you guys can see me?
Yes, bhai, very well.
Okay, great. So, first of all, thank you so much, Yusuf, for inviting me for giving a light talk on applying to universities for higher studies. So, before like ado, let's move forward. Like Zahid has already stated some of the things. I will maybe explore and elaborate on some of those points. So, first of all, is that like we should know like what should be the motivation behind applying to graduate school. So as you can see, as you can understand that one should not basically just to apply because everyone else is applying, or it's just a peer pressure, or you are just clueless about what to do next in your life. It's not like that after BTech I have to do an MTech or an MS. It's not always that scenario. So because it takes once you reach here, you will understand that that's not how life is. So you should be at least passionate about the like some kind of topics, or maybe a combination of topics. And more particularly, the most of these schools in the US are research focused, because even for the professor, they receive their salary not because of their teaching, but rather based upon the research that they do. So for teaching, they don't receive any payment or salary; they just receive payment because of their research. Therefore, you have to at some point love doing research or have some kind of idea. Moreover, of course, you can seek a richer, satisfying life in the US. That's not a bad reason to apply, but shouldn't be the only reason to apply. And then of course earn more money, because they of course in USD if you earn money that would be better. But then again, that should not be the only reason for applying. So for graduate applications, some of these are some of the overview points that I will go through during my presentation. So let's start with the academics. So one of the things that I have understood in the past 1 or 2 months, and during my application process also, and is that GPA or the CGPA that is called in AMU is quite important, because you cannot convince any professor that you will work on you will do research while you don't have a good GPA or something. So professor needs to know that if even if you commit to something, you must be at least bare minimum good in academics. uh, because there sometimes in research you might encounter some issues, so that but professor is willing to ignore that or maybe bypass that based upon the fact that you have some good academic or research good academic performance in the past. So GPs, some now how can GPA vary? Like no GPA is good that will ensure you admittance into any particular college, but I would suggest keep bare minimum, keep it above 7, but preferably above 8.5, preferably upon 8.5, but at the bare minimum you can keep it up to 7. So and sometimes what happens is in our college, like during the first year you have courses like thermodynamics and maybe environmental engineering. So my field, like I'm from electronics, so these courses like does not matter to me as much in the field of electronics. So sometimes what the school does is they ask for your transcript, and they see your grades only in the courses that are relevant to your study. For example, if for me, if I'm going for electronics, my grade in the environmental engineering or thermodynamics would not be considered. So even if you have a bad grade in those subjects, it's completely fine. So this is one thing that people I feel overlook, is that is these academics that I have seen people saying in AMU that uh, no, there's no problem in academics, just do research, 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 and you will get a good acceptance. That's not generally the case. That might happen, good for you. If it doesn't, then again it's a risk. So I would suggest not to take that risk. Second thing is the GRE score. Although in the recent years, GRE has become less relevant because of the COVID-19 and other kind of situations. So some schools have like waived off. Some schools like have a waiver policy like based upon like your needs, and sometimes they don't even consider GRE. So they are like three segments. But I would say like if you have the time and ability, I would suggest you to give a GRE score, because because a lot of universities will require a GRE score, and if you don't give a GRE, therefore you won't be even able to apply to those universities. So I don't want you to lose on some universities based upon the fact that you were not able to give a GRE score. But again, no GRE score is a good score that will assure you admittance. Now, but I would rather suggest keep it above 316. Try to keep it above 316, and preferably above 320 out of 340. If you don't know, the GRE is basically bifurcation of 170 in verbal and 170 in quant. In verbal, there is just English. In the rest of 170, there is just mathematics. So I would suggest the combined score should be at least 316, and preferably greater than 320. So but again, I would say like don't give GRE like without any preparation or something. Don't take it as a lightly test, because it's first of all it's an expensive test. It will cost you around 19,000 Indian rupees just to appear for the test. So you don't want your 19,000 rupees just to go to waste, and like, so you need to prepare for 2 or 3 months and then appear for GRE when you are comfortable. Next thing is to get involved in research. So like some of like first of most basic thing is to get an internship in some good colleges or universities, even in India or abroad, like IITs and or IISCs in India, or TIFR and other things. Or maybe you can apply for research internships in the US through like mitax, or you can maybe cold email the professor and can come here and work. Or maybe even you can do some kind of industry experience, like uh, working at Amazon or something as an intern, these things. But I would suggest that at bare minimum, if you are not able to get an internship or land an internship during your undergrad, I would suggest to basically do some kind of research work with some of the faculty in the college itself. Go to your professor, ask him that I want to work, these are my interest and my interest align with your interest, and I would like to work on a project, and try to get a publication out of that. So I would suggest that although these are not required, like no one says that it is required, but it is expected to have some kind of research papers. So having IEEE papers in conference or journal is a big plus. So again, but you need to start early, in maybe in your second year or third year, because starting a research, completing a research, publishing a research takes around typically 8 or 9 months. So, and this is before the application. So, for example, for fall 24, that is the next year, the application will start around October to November and will close around December to January. So, by December or January, you must have some kind of research. It's not a must, but like preferably you should have some kind of paper. So, if you want to have a research paper by December, you need to start by basically last year or maybe this year in the starting with your research. But even if you haven't done it, that's completely fine. I am again saying it's not a requirement, but you can still bypass it with a good GRE score and a good GPA. And moreover, this working in a research environment makes your statement of purpose strong. Next thing we'll talk about is shortlisting the universities. So in the next few slides, I will give you a typical scenario, like how can you look for good universities in the US. I'm particularly talking about US, and this is just, and the whole slide is basically my experience and my opinion. This might vary depending upon person to person, and even if you ask Zahid, the things would have been different for him as compared to me. So the first and the most basic way is to just search for best universities in USA for like electrical or mechanical or computer, whatever program is that, and you just type, do a quick Google search, and you see a bunch of websites pull up. Open QS ranking, open US news ranking, or any other ranking. You can see how the universities are, what are their rankings, and what are all those things. So this is the one of the most basic way, which will give you a kind of an overview of like which universities are good in your field. If you want to dig deeper, I would suggest you to ask some kind of questions to yourself. Like what I mean by that is, what kind of topics do you like? In even in mechanical, if you consider, like, do you like some particular topics, or is it a combination of two or three topics that you are particularly interested in working? Moreover, you also need to see like what are the career opportunities after graduation. You don't want to be in to go into a field of study that is like getting has a dead end, or do not have a career opportunities upon your graduation. Moreover, what are your salary expectations? Like because, like, for example, the typical salary for a CS graduate is much higher than maybe say a mechanical or something in the industry. So you need to understand what are your salary expectations, and how these salary expectations will meet your university's shortlisting requirement too. So I'll give you an example. Like, if you are interested in RF hardware or system engineering, that is basically a subfield in electrical and computer engineering. So what you do is you go on Google, would you do a Google search and do type LinkedIn. Most of you must be on LinkedIn. Just go to LinkedIn, type RF hardware engineer. You see the job posting there, and you will see like what's the typical salary, what's the general summary, like what are the requirements, what are the skills needed that you need for becoming an RF engineer. For salaries, you can also go at Glassdoor. It's again a website. You can see like what's the average base salary of a graduate after graduating as a system RF engineer. So this will like see this is how you can see like what are the career opportunities in your particular field upon graduation, and what are the salary expectations and the skills required for these kind of things. Next is to find a good research group. So pull up Google Scholar, go into the search bar, and as you can see here, I have written LABEL, label semicolon space, label semicolon space, and then you write like RF, or maybe like, for example, I'm giving you the example of an RF engineer. So you type RF. Now you see a bunch of scholars have been pulled up into the Google Scholar website, and you can see like where are these people working, what are their citations, how, what are the other field of interest. And for example, if I select the one that is in the red box, for example, open their website, also open their Google Scholar page, you will see the publication record over their years, their citations, their H index and I-10 index. So this, but what I mean by that is you should understand that the professor is doing research continuously in subsequent years. Like, you look for citations, is the research continuing, are the citations going down, or the citations are going up? You don't want to be in a group where the citations are going down. Preferably you should be in a group where the research is going up and up, so that you can publish more, the person is hiring more, the person is getting more funding. So that's how you can get it. The next thing is to maybe read some of the recent papers of the research group. Like on the left hand side, you can see the papers are listed, but you can sort them by years or by citations, and just read some of the papers, because this will help you in some of the later steps. Another thing is to understand about the size of the research group. Like when you most of the professors have a separate website for their research group. You just go to their website, you look at the number of students that are currently uh, enrolled or maybe working in that lab. Now this might be undergraduate students, graduate students, PhD scholars, postgraduate scholars. So like, you need to see like how many people are working in a current lab. A bigger group generally suggests that people are working in a very vibrant environment, and the professor is getting a lot of funding, and he's hiring also. So that's a good sign. So you can maybe apply under that professor which have a lot of openings and have a lot of people working in that particular area of interest. Another thing is to understand what the previous like graduates from that particular lab has are up to now. Like a person graduating in 2019 from that lab is now assistant professor somewhere, like, so that is a good sign. If he is in the industry, that is again a good sign. So basically what that means is the person, if the person is landing a good job upon graduation, that basically means that the professor has good contact within the industry as well as in academia, and people are getting successful, so that's again a good sign. So you need to see what the previous students are doing right now. Another thing is you can do for, if you are looking for to see if the person have a funding or not, just go to National Science Foundation. There are other websites for also other agencies also that fund the professor, that gives funds. One of them is NSF, that is the National Science Foundation. There are others like Department of Energy, Department of Defense, and some other. You can do the similar kind of thing in those website also. Just go there in the search award for, like, write the name of the professor, and you can see, as you can see, it is written that the professor has got this the funding for this kind of project, and the start date is this, the amount is this, and you can see like, okay, the professor has funding in this particular project, and if that your interest meets with the project that is being funded, you can definitely go and apply for this. So this is again a good sign that the professor has funding, and if you got into the university, most probably you will get a funding. Then again, do a quick Google search about the university, pull up their department pages, look for the application requirements, and like a letter of recommendation, what are the what is the GP expectations and other things. So this is just the basic step that I know, I hope that all of you understands and might have done in the past also, or might be doing it right now also. Another thing is to make contact with the prospective professor. I would suggest that before doing that, you should have done all these steps that I have mentioned so far, like getting familiar with the research of the professor, reading some of their papers, collecting information about what do they have any some kind of funding or not. Does your research interest align with their with the research that they are doing, and how can you collaborate, and how can you contribute to that? But again, I would suggest that the email should be quite concise and short, because faculties receive a lot of emails, and if you write like a big email, they will most probably ignore that, because like they don't have that much time to read through it. So the email should be short, crisp, and to the point. So you can do that, but it is like it's not required. But for a PhD, if you're applying directly for a PhD after bachelor's, the way I did, you need to have some kind of contact with the professor before applying or during your application, because like the professor will definitely have an interview with you. So you need to make sure that the professor has opening in their lab, professor is working the right direction, the way you want to work in, and other kind of things that I've mentioned so far. So you can definitely go ahead and contact the professor via email. And some of these are some of the basic steps that you require for application, is that you should have a good GPA, GRE. I have written very important, but again, I would say that this is the importance of GRE has gotten quite down in the recent years because of the COVID-19 pandemic and other things. So I don't think that is like true or correct up to like in the recent years. But again, if you have a chance and have the money and the ability to give GRE, I would suggest you give. Even if you skip the GRE, you can still apply to universities, because many of the universities have waived off the GRE requirement, and you can still apply to a lot of good universities without a GRE score. So even if you are not preparing for a GRE, even if don't feel down or something, just make sure that you do a good Google search and good thorough research about which universities are not requiring a GRE, and then you can apply to those universities. Then again, the traditional TOEFL or IELTS, you need to give either of them, because that's just an English requirement test, so you cannot surpass or bypass that. Other thing is the letter of recommendations that you require from the university, from your professor. Then we have the statement of purpose and some of the research experience that you have done. And like you need before application, you need to see what's the funding status. Are there any openings? Does your interest align with the interest of the professor, and so forth. So for letter of recommendation, I would suggest go to people whom you have worked in the past. Like people generally think that if I get a recommendation letter from the chairman of the department, that would matter. No, that's not the case. It it matters most when the person know you as a person, or you have worked with him. If you go and give a letter of recommendation from the chairman of your department and you have not done any work under him, that is not a good letter of recommendation. A good LOR would be someone, maybe even if it's an assistant professor, associate professor, it doesn't matter. If you have done work with him, ask him or her to give you a letter of recommendation. That is the best LOR that you can get. So, and of course, poor source of recommendation letter is from some family, friends, or relatives. So that is just something to avoid. In even in SOP, your SOP is one of the most important document of your graduate application. This can literally break and make your application. So I would suggest, like, I don't think we have a lot of time to go through each and every part of statement of purpose, but here are some of the points that you can maybe uh, address in your SOP. Like, first of all, is why are you applying for a graduate school? Like, what's the reason of applying to graduate school? Next could be what attracts you to that particular program at a particular university. Like, for different universities, this might vary. Like in some university, you might like the kind idea of being entrepreneur in engineer, or some kind of entrepreneur class that they offer. Maybe they have some kind of lab. Maybe they have some kind of good resource that you want to work when you join the university. So what attracts you to the program will vary depending upon university to university. Then next question could be that what will you offer? Like, do you have the required skills? Even if the university accepts you, what will you offer to them? Do you have some kind of research work that aligns with them? What skills have you gained during your bachelor's or master's that that they can exploit to further their research? Then again, you should add some kind of your long and short term goals, which is like, I understand that they are vague right now. Even it's vague for me too. Even if I am here, that's vague for me too. But that's completely fine. You can say that I will join industry and upon graduation, so and so forth. And of course, you are not binded by that. In 1 or 2 years, you can change that. No one is going to care. No one is going to ask. But this is one question that you should, in one way or the another way, answer. And you will have to write some kind of the name of the faculty that you are interested in working. I would suggest write the name of two faculties, not more than two, I would suggest. Otherwise it will look like you are writing just a generalized statement of purpose. It should be tailored to like two faculty of interest. Although, like, for in my case, I applied to Hopkins under the name of Professor Ralph Cunning and Professor Andrews, but I did not get a call for interview from either one of them. I got a call for interview from a third professor. So it's not like that. That if you write the name of Professor A and B, you cannot get an admission under Professor C. So you will get it, but you need to make some kind of tailoring based upon Professor A and B. Some of the do's and don'ts is like, you might have given the GRE or stuff before writing the statement of purpose. The vocabulary of GRE should not be used in a statement of purpose. Make it a note. The kind of vocabulary that is being taught you during your preparation in for GRE is of no use. But nevertheless, you have to prepare for the GRE, but do not use that vocabulary for writing your statement of purpose or LOR or any other document. The SOP should be clear, concise, and should have some kind of jargons. But again, it's a very important statement. You don't want the professor to look to, when he reads your statement of purpose, you don't want him to go and open a dictionary real quick, like what is the meaning of this. You don't want him to do that, because that's not how it works. So you need to write a clear, concise, giving examples in your statement of purpose, because this is one of the most important document in your whole application. For funding, again, as Zahid has mentioned, you can do self-funding. You can get funding through assistantship, the way Zahid has got in as a teaching assistant or a research assistant. So as a teaching assistant, again, some professors might not take you as a TA, which is the teaching assistantship during your first semester, because some professor required that you should have taken that particular course before being a TA in that course. For example, if I'm taking a course of machine learning and signal processing right now, so I can apply for a TA position in the same course, maybe next semester or whenever the course is offered again. So you might not get a TA in your first semester, but you can get an RA if you have convinced some professor about your research abilities and other things. You can get an RA the way Zahid has gotten the RA or a research assistantship. Another way is to have apply for part-time jobs in the US, which might come in the form of uh, like kind of a driver, or like for example, in my university there are this translog services, which is like transportation services across the campus. So you can apply for those positions and you can work as a part-time student, maybe on during your weekend or maybe some parts of your week, and you can earn and get some kind of money from that also. But that is again like not the preferred thing. The traditional way is to get a teaching assistantship or research assistantship. Before applying, I would suggest you should start early, because like of course stuff happens. Your application is not complete. You have a marriage in your relatives. You were not able to concentrate. Professor forgot to mail the recommendation letters, and believe me, that happens a lot of times. You have to keep on contact. You have to keep on reminding your professor that in a very polite and a kind way that please upload my letter of recommendation, and it is your responsibility to make sure the LOR is being uploaded by your professor. It is not his responsibility, it is your responsibility to make sure that it is being submitted before the application deadline. Then again, be ready to pay the application fee, which is around $100. This might vary. Like for University of California, they have like $155, but then again, like Hopkins has $25. So that depends upon university to university, but a typical range should be around 75 to $100. So be ready to pay for each one of these universities the application fee. This is again a timeline which Zahid has already gone through. So I would just say that the typical deadline is around December and January, and after that, if you have you might receive an interview call in the month of February or late of January or during February. And upon receiving an interview call, you will give an interview, and then you will receive an admission letter, and that you will get an acceptance no later than April. So by April, you will have all your decisions, like is it an acceptance or a rejection, or are you under review or still, whatever it is. So the maximum by April, you will have a decision in your hand basically. Then after that, you will apply for an I-20 form, F1 student visa, and then book your flight tickets in the month of June, July. You will fly around August, and late of August, uh, you will have your classes here. So this is just a timeline for 2021. So like change this to 2024. Like for here, this 2020 will become 2023, and for 2021 this will become 2024. So this is how the typical application timeline would look like. And I would suggest to basically be prepared for each of these segments. Like I have divided into 4 segments. Be ready for each of these segments, like in before the next segment arrives, so that you have enough time even if something happens. So again, just a summary and tip: start early, of course. GRE scores are important, but I don't think that's relevant now. So uh, I would suggest don't only apply to top schools only. Like people apply to like top 10, top 15, top 50. Do not do that, because what's the goal? The goal is to get an admission. You need to apply to a high rank, a mid rank, and a relatively low ranked universities as well, because the idea is to get an admission. You don't want to apply to all the top schools and then you have no acceptance, and after BTech you are staying at home. We don't want that. We want you to be here in the US or Canada or whichever country you want to. So you need to divide the list of schools that you are applying to, like mid, high, and relatively low ranked universities. Another thing, you can definitely go ahead and contact the professor before applying. And in that communication should be brief, concise, and to the point, because again, they don't have a lot of time to go through uh, these kind of emails again and again, because they receive a lot of emails. So this brings us to the end of the presentation, and if you have any questions, me and Zaid both are open for questions now.
Thank you, Asma, for the wonderful and informative presentation. I think now I can just read up the questions that are in the chat box.
Sure.
I think the first question is a bit irrelevant, I would say. I think you can connect with Asmar Bhai and Zaid Bhai on LinkedIn and probably ask your queries there instead of a WhatsApp mobile number. Then, then Farhan Ahmed is asking, did we start research from a very one year? I think he means you say that should we start research from the very first year?
I would like take it easy if you are in first year. Try to explore different fields. Try to first understand what do you like you have enough time. If you are in your first year, by the end of your second year, you might have a decent idea, not a complete good idea, but a decent idea, like maybe I've like field A and field B. Now you have two fields. Now you can work on that. But it's not like that during your first year you should be involved in research. Take it easy, you still have time, explore different fields.
Yeah, just to add to that, so I started my research journey at the start of third year because पहले के 2 years are for gauging what you want to research on and what you want to study on, right? So I took 1 full year of second to third year for just gauging my opportunities in various fields and basically stuck on machine learning in the last.
Okay, so next is what is GRE and when exam will be conducted? I think.
So GRE is the exam called Graduate Record Examination. So it basically has two parts, the English and the mathematics. English in both are scored on a scale of 170. So the total score is the maximum score that you can get is 340, 170 for each of these section. And it is not conducted at in certain points of the year. It's like whenever you are ready, like you think your the preparation is done, you just register for a GRE and go and give your GRE. So you can give GRE 5 times in 1 year, and the score is valid for 5 years. So that's very flexible.
Yeah, but just to add to that, I even though I gave GRE, I did not submit my scores for Texas A&M because I thought that it would affect my application negatively. So most of the time, GRE is not necessary. So be sure to check that.
Yeah.
I think Asmer didn't also submit GRE, right?
Yeah, for my PhD at Hopkins, the GRE was not required, so I also did not submit my GRE score at Hopkins.
Yeah, so we both gave GRE but didn't submit it. So loss of 19,000 rupees, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay, then the next question is why did you choose US over Canada?
Okay, for my field, like electronics, the recent CHIPS Act by Biden administration has been one of the driving force of applying to US over Canada. Moreover, the uh, job prospects in the US is more than I think for Canada. Specifically talking about specifically my for my field, this might vary depending upon in which field you are. But basically, that's the main reason for me to applying at US universities and not in Canada.
Yeah, I guess the same. US has better job opportunities. So go US.
Okay, then the next question is how to contact with foreign professors for doing research and then under them.
So one of the traditional ways to apply for research internship programs like MITAX or DAD or some other kind of internship programs. But even if you don't get it, or you were not able to apply on time, you can do cold emailing. What I mean by cold emailing is that you just look for a professor, you write him an email that my interests are these, and I'm interested in working as an intern under you, and do you have any opening, and I would like to work under with you. And most probably they will get back to you, and that's how you can establish a communication.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, same. Yeah.
Okay. Um, so the next question is how much is a typical workload for a PhD student and a master student? I've heard that the PhD in US is tough.
Yeah, for a PhD student, I would say that currently I'm doing coursework, research, and both of these things. So, like, currently I'm doing 20 and a half credits per semester this semester. So, the load is quite a lot, I would say. So, be ready to work on weekends, be ready to be in the lab at late nights as a PhD student because you need to work your ass off just to do the basic things. Moreover, this is the workload for the academics part. One thing that people often miss is that once you get back home, you need to clean, you need to cook, you need to wash your clothes, you need to do laundry, and you need to do a lot of things on your own. So that also accounts for a lot of things. So yeah, the workload for a PhD students is definitely uh, quite a lot. So be ready for that and best of luck.
So for a typical master student, if you are not a graduate assistant researcher or a TA or a RA, so you have to do in A&M particularly, you have to do at least 9 credit hours per semester. So basically you just have to juggle the courses. But if you are a TA or an RA, you get some additional roles. So my role as a RA is also researching. So most of the time studies. Then after that, I have to do the research work which the professor gives me. So yeah, and also I'm a TA. I'm an unpaid TA, but yeah, I'm an RA. I'm a TA, and I also have to juggle the courses. So, but you get paid for only 20 hours per week in USA. We can't get paid more than that, so I'm getting paid through my RA, and TA is just an additional position which my professor has given me. So I guess, yeah.
Okay. Devansh is asking how does the application process and emailing to a professor differ when applying for a PhD and an MS program?
So I applied to MS and PhD programs both. I would say the application process is not that different. Like, of course, in your LOR, it should be mentioned that you are applying for a PhD. In your SOP, it should be mentioned that you are applying for a PhD and not for an MS, of course. Apart from that, the application process is not different. It's mostly the same.
Yeah. I mean, you go through the same admission portal. You just select different courses based on what you want. Then it's basically PhD or MS.
And anything on the second part of the question of regarding emailing the professors. So how is that different for a PhD or a master's student?
Uh, like I would still say like for MS, I don't think you need to email the professors, but if you want to, of course, you can. For a PhD, even if you email both for MS and PhD, it's basically just the same email. You just change like I'm applying for MS or a PhD. That's it. At least
Yeah,
that's what
for
I did.
for masters, you don't need to mail a professor, but for getting an RA or a TA position, you certainly need to mail a professor because you need to tell them about your research capabilities. So if you are financially well off, then don't mail. But for a masters, but if you do want some funding opportunities right away, then do mail it.
Okay, so the next question is how to convert our CPI into GPA. I think those are the same things, I think.
Those are the same things.
Okay. Next question is how do you recommend prepping for the GRE?
For the GRE, I would suggest that there's this uh, official guide from the ETS, the organization that gives that basically have this GRE test. It is the ETS. You can go and get their official guide and maybe do some maybe use Manhattan 5 LB strictly for maths and not for English. I would suggest don't do verbal section from Manhattan 5 LB. If you have to do, just do the mathematics section for practicing. And I would say buy maybe an online course like I used Greg Math, so that's $5 a month. So like less than 400 rupees per month. Do it for 3 months in less than 1,000 rupees. You will be done with your preparation. It typically takes 3 to 4 months to prepare for GRE, depending uh, upon your abilities. But yeah.
Yeah, I guess the same.
Okay.
But I'm a very bad person to ask for GRE since I didn't study much. But yeah.
Okay. Next question is by Shiraz. I'm pursuing MTech from Jamia Millia Islami in EC, and I'm thinking to pursue my PhD in USA or IIT, which is better. So he's just asking if pursuing a PhD in IIT is better or in US.
Zahid,
So,
please answer this.
so yeah. So the thing is, the job market in USA is much better, but it doesn't mean that even if you do a master's or PhD from IIT, you can't get into a job market in USA. The typical thing is that the companies in USA prefer the students who study from USA itself because it's much easier for them. But so I chose USA because the job market is much better, and it was my dream to study abroad, particularly in the USA. So it's not like IIT is bad or something, but yeah, you can go for either. But since the competition is cutthroat in India in terms of giving an entrance exam, so basically I am not made for an entrance exam. I'm made for research, so that's why I took USA. But yeah, I mean, giving gate is really hard. It's not something to be trifled with. So yeah.
Yeah, I would agree with Zahid. Yeah.
Okay. So the next question is Ahmed. Seeing that both of you had significant internships, how much weightage should one give to getting an internship?
The idea of getting an internship is basically to have some kind of research experience. So you must have some kind of research, some kind of experience either in the industry or in research, typically to before applying. So try to get an internship, like as much as many internship as you can do, but of course the quality should matter. It's not about the quantity but rather the quality of the internship. If you can get a research paper out of that internship, if you can get a LOR from the professor, or maybe your employer, maybe you are working in the industry, you can, if you can get an LOR from the HR, from the or something, so that would be really nice. So I would suggest that pay attention to getting internships. Or even if you are not able to get an internship, get in touch with your professor in your college and do research under him. That is even much better. That is also good, uh, rather than having no internship at all.
Yeah, I mean, any research experience helps, even if it's either abroad or on-campus research opportunities in the India itself. Yeah.
In the next question, I think it's a bit of a broad question. What are your extracurriculars?
So I guess it's extracurriculars for specifically getting into a grad school in the USA, right? So
Mhm.
talking about me, I was very active in student clubs. It doesn't mean you have to be this much active. So I was in Robo Club, I was in AUV Club, I was in IEEE RAS, I was in so much more. But yeah, the RAS one really helped me because yeah, so you have something to write on your CV, right? At least that I was a part and president of IEEE RAS, so it helps. But yeah, extracurriculars really helps. So I was the technical team. I was the computer team lead in AUV. I was joint coordinator in Robo Club. So I was very active in student clubs.
Anything to
In
add as well?
my in my case, I'm going to be a bit blunt on this. Don't mind me, but I would say, like, that's my personal opinion. That's my opinion. You don't have to follow it. But I don't think having extracurriculars help you in graduate school. It does not matter.
So
That might
there are
matter.
there are two advices, both
Yeah,
at
that
the
do advise.
extremes, but
So,
it's
yeah.
based on you.
So I think extracurricular matters when you are applying for undergraduate program, not for graduate school. Yeah, get involved in IEEE something. Yeah, good. You can write about it. But
Join RS.
uh, John RS, of
Yeah,
course,
join
John RS.
RS.
But like being the chairperson of IEEE will not make any much difference in our application. So be chill
So the
about
thing is,
that.
it didn't make much difference in my application, as Asma stated. It's not important. The thing was, my experience in underwater autonomous vehicle club. It helped me in getting an
Yeah.
RA position because my professor also also was a professor in marine technology. So that's how it helped me in getting an RA, but not an admission. For admission,
Yeah,
you don't need
so
extracurriculars.
yeah, so if you're involved in some kind of extracurricular activity or club which is relevant to your field, then it makes sense. Otherwise, like if I am going for robotics and if I am applying for robotics and I'm in my undergraduate, I am doing some other thing, uh, organizing uh, student functions or this ZERF or something, it won't matter.
Yeah.
To be honest, it won't matter.
Okay, so next question is also a very broad question. Please do share all 4 years journey.
Oh my God, this one gonna
This will take a
take over.
lot of time. It will take the whole day, I guess.
Let's do this if we have time. Let's do this in the end.
Okay, so the next question is by me. Please give a
I think
detailed.
I think you surpassed one question. Are you working part time? If yes, how many hours per
Oh,
week?
okay, okay, okay. I'm sorry, I'm sorry. Are you working part time? If yes, how many hours per week? And just to
Yeah,
add on that, I would like to ask: is the PhD stipend sufficient? Yeah.
of course, bro. So I'm not working part time because for a PhD, it's generally funded. So you are being funded by the department for the first year, and subsequently you are funded by your advisor for the rest of your PhD journey. So for me, I'm not working part time. Although if I have to, the limit for the visa limitation is for 20 hours per week. And like for example, I am pretty sure Zahid must be working 20 hours per week, and for every hour he must be getting 19 or 20 or $25 based upon what the professor is offering. So that's how the part-time kind of thing works. uh, I think yes, so for me I'm not working.
Yeah, same for me. I mean, I don't know if GA is considered as part time or not, but yeah. So I work 20 hours per week. I mean, it's as stated on paper. You don't work just 20 hours a week. You work all the
Hmm.
time. But yeah, basically 20 hours a week, and you get paid well. GA and TA positions are really paid well, so don't worry about that. You can easily take out your expenses and save money from GA and TA stipend.
Okay, so coming back to the question, please give a detailed comparison of MS versus PhD in terms of workload, how tough the actual program is, the job prospects, etc. Also, how does a person choose between the two? What would you guys say?
Detailed comparison about the workload is that since I'm a PhD student, I haven't done masters, so I think the if I would not have been involved in research, then the workload would have been much easier for me. But since I'm doing coursework, these coursework have assignments, labs, projects for each of these courses, and like for weekly assignments, weekly labs there are. Then I'm also involved in research, so I need to go to the lab, perform experimentations, read papers, and write proposal or something. So that takes like 90% of my time that I have of in a typical day, and that too on weekends. Like weekends are also not free because you are constantly working, trying to perform so that the next day you don't have to suffer. So that's how the things are. I think for the MS part, Zahid can elaborate.
Yeah. So what was the question? Yeah, so my reason of choosing MS over PhD was, I mean, my professor wanted me to take a PhD under him, but my main reason for doing masters was I wasn't sure if the field that I chose is really the field that I would uh, research on for the next 5 or 6 years of my life. So doing a PhD program uh, takes a lot of time. 5 years is a lot of time to invest. So I just wanted to gauge how my research interest fit in one particular niche. For example, just for giving an example, machine learning and cybersecurity. The next field could be machine learning and control systems, for example. So I wasn't sure about what was a niche that I'm going to. I knew I wanted to do research in machine learning. I wasn't sure which particular field of that machine learning I would go into. So my professor wanted me to do research in machine learning and cybersecurity. I wasn't sure if I would be able to continue that for the next 5 years. So just to gauge the field, I want to do masters first, then probably some work experience. Then I would later pursue PhD if I change my mind. So yeah, I guess Yusuf, that answers the question.
Yeah,
And job prospects is so the thing is, closer the companies to your university. Like for example, Tesla has a plant in Austin, Texas, which is like 1.5 to 2 hours drive from the city which I live in. So Tesla and Los Alamos Laboratories, they usually take students from Texas A&M because it is the closest and one of the and it's a good university overall. So you also have to take in account the distance that the companies are placed in from your city. Yeah.
Just a small follow-up. Asma, would you like elaborate on the second part, that how did you decide? Were you sure that you want to work on that area for like 5 years, or were there some other factors as well?
So yes, even if you get into a PhD, you will be given time to explore things. So it's not like you will be bind to something that the lab does. And even if you don't like what they are doing, you can definitely switch the professor after the first year. You can change your professor. You can go into you can work under any desired professor that you want to. So, and even if you think that I should just get a master, I'm not cut for a PhD, uh, you can do the coursework, get get out with just a MS degree. You don't need to do a PhD, even though you were admitted to a PhD program. You need not necessarily complete the PhD, but you can get an MS in the middle and just get out of the university and maybe join the industry or something, or go to some other university, whatever you want to do.
Okay, does
Yeah, just to
doing
add to
that have
that,
a okay?
just to add to that, if you're doing PhD, you can get out after 2 years by just getting a master's degree. And if you're getting just a master's degree, then you can continue it by giving a small exam and then make it into a PhD. So both are possible.
Right, both are possible.
So does the point of dropping out make a negative impact on your profile, if that's, or maybe on a
Not
visa
really,
or something?
not really. Like I don't think so, and I don't think so that I'm fit to answer that as of now.
Mhm.
Uh, so I would rather not answer that.
Okay. Okay, so the next question by Rafe is, how much of your living costs are you able to cover through those 20 hours per week?
I
Like,
think that's pointed towards Zahid.
So I,
yeah,
uh,
I guess I cover all my living expenses, then then I can save a lot. So yeah, I mean, it's highly paid. Yeah, so don't worry about that. If you do get an
okay.
RA or TA, then you're covered.
Okay, the next question is, I'm a bachelor student. I have lived alone in India since class 9th. I'll be shifting to the US in January for my bachelor's, most probably University of Texas A&M. What suggestions would you give me?
Okay, that's amazing. If you're getting bachelor's in TAMU, so what suggestions? I mean, what particular suggestions do you need? I don't know, but in terms of job prospects and other things, it's great here.
Mhm.
The town is called College Station, and it's not like New York. It's not ultra expensive. The living conditions, okay, the living conditions are good. The expenses are fairly cheap. So for example, in New York you would get the same house for approximately $1,000, but in College Station you would get the same house for approximately 450 to $500. That's it. The groceries would cost additional around 200 to $300. So you can cover the whole thing in about 700 to $800. That's it. It's relatively very cheap and relatively very good.
Okay, so the next question, what about MENG, Masters in Engineering? Unlike MS or PhD, it is a project-based program, and is much cheaper than MS.
I am not sure, Asmer.
I'm sorry. What about engineering? Okay, engineering is basically when it's a project-based thing. So although I'm also really not sure about how that works, because not me, none of my friends got into an engineering. Most of them got into an MS or a PhD. So I'm not really sure. You can maybe get back to me on LinkedIn or something. So maybe I can look on it and can answer you better there.
I think the MENG is usually not cheaper than an Masters with thesis option, since it's not funded, maybe. So yeah, I think we can get connect with Asma and he'll let you know probably.
Yeah, sure.
Uh, As- Asma Fatima is asking, course-based versus thesis-based. What would you recommend?
So the thing that generally the idea is, if you do a course-based masters, I mean, I think it's basically for masters. So if you do course-based masters, then the research opportunities of getting an RA are relatively less. I mean, you could still get it, but the opportunities are relatively less since the professor won't gain something from you because you won't be doing research, right? So why would he fund you? Because as I told you, a professor has to spend around 50,000 US dollars per person per semester. So that's a lot. So basically, it's good if you want to get an RA job and you want to get yourself funded, then doing a thesis-based master is generally recommended, but both are good. I mean, even in thesis-based, I have to do the basic coursework. And additionally, I would have to do the thesis. So there are I think there are three credit less. It's 32 for non-thesis and 29 or 20 or 30 for a thesis-based. The rest credits are filled in by the thesis that I write. So, yeah.
Anything Asma would like to add?
I don't consider myself fit to answer that because I did not get into either the course because the thesis based. But yeah, I think Zahid has answered you pretty well.
Okay. So I think the next question is a bit irrelevant to the context of this program. Then we'll move on from that. Then Asna Partners again asking for later job opportunities. Is weightage higher of either course based or thesis based? I think that's just a follow.
I
No, I
think,
think it's the same.
yeah, it's the same.
Yeah. So you will not do any mistake if you enroll into a course based or a thesis based. You will land a job pretty easily. So
Yeah. It's just about if you want to do research or not. Thesis
yeah,
generally research. So,
it won't hinder you in getting a job if you get a thesis.
Okay, so I think we've moved towards the end of the Q&A session as well, and importantly towards the end of this program. I would once again like to thank our panelists. I think Okay, I would like to thank our panelists Asma Bhai and Zahid Bhai for sparing out their valuable time to guide us today. I would like to thank also all the participants who showed up in good numbers, and I wish you uh, good luck with the applications. And I think you guys can connect with Asma Bhai and Zahid Bhai on LinkedIn if you have any follow-up questions. And I also believe that you should follow IEEE ZSCT on Instagram and other handles to stay updated. We also have another event lined up, particularly focused on Canada. I think it would be in the next week. So I think, yeah, you guys should just stay in touch with IEEE for such great things, I would say. Yeah, I think that's it. We should
Thank you so
probably end
much.
this.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have
Thank
a
you,
nice
Asmar bhai.
day.
Thank you, Zahid bhai.
No problem.
Bye.
See you.
Really?